Bobby Gentilo, we love guitar nerds. You have your hand in the blues, you have your hand in songwriting, you have your hand in recording, you have your hand in traveling all over the world, kind of like with your brand of music. Thank you for being here.
Oh man,
Thank you for being here. So what are you doing now?
I am not sleeping.
Okay, well, this is good.
Yeah, not sleeping. Well, in the studio, at Right Coast, I'm probably working on 5 or 6 projects at the moment, all different stages,
Mhm.
with regional bands, and I just finished mixing a project from Mississippi. It was a house party at RL Boyce's birthday party thing that I didn't record, so that's always challenging. Carlos and I, from my musical partner from South America, are working on finishing an album of a symphonic thing we might get into later,
Mhm.
and then a symphonic album.
I heard that. That was like I don't even know how you would even you got kahunas because that seems like it would be.
Oh my, yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny because Carlos was here. He was standing pretty much right where I am right now, and he got the message that we got the gig, and we celebrated for 30 seconds, and then I said, "Oh snap!"
Yeah. Now
we
I'm kind
gotta
of
do it.
what did I just get myself into?
Oh, we do it. Oh man, but
Yeah.
we can talk about that whenever you want. But that was an amazing
Yeah.
experience. And then
Yeah.
and I finally stopped making excuses for my own album, and I'm about to release that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Let's take it way back when you were like this tall.
Right.
Where did music start with you?
I mean, it was a natural thing for me. I think I was always intrigued by it. I have a funny story from 3rd grade. But my dad is a good singer. He didn't do it professionally because he decided to raise a family. He comes from a town outside of Pittsburgh that was about to become depressed. And so he knew he had to split. So he couldn't do that thing, but he was always singing. So we were always listening to music. So kind of doo-wop singers and that type of
Through
thing.
your family band.
No, we could have. I mean, he's a really good singer. Still,
Yeah.
so we were always listening to music, and he was always singing. And my brother is very artistic. He's actually a cameraman for AP, but he started playing guitar first. And I don't know. I don't know. It just was a really natural thing. I was always intrigued. Whenever I would see music, I tried to figure out how it was happening off stage. That's just something I've always been, interested in. But this is funny. When I was in 3rd grade, I went to a Catholic school, and I think I was in probably third, and it was like maybe 1st through 8th grade, and we had a Christmas review, and every day we'd go to class, and we'd have to take a little bit of time, and everyone would pick an instrument to play to prepare for this review, and there was only one bongo, and I didn't trust anyone else to play it.
All right.
In 3rd grade,
Like the tambourine.
Yeah, I was like, no, you can't handle the bongo.
Yeah.
So I hit it.
Bands have broken up because of bongos.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I hid the bongo the night before the pageant, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
The next day, everybody wants the bongo, right? So the next day, where's the bongo? The bongo. So I emerged from like behind this cabinet. I found it. I found the bongo, and the teacher realized that I hid it. So she took the bongo from me and gave me the triangle.
Oh.
I had to do the whole triangle.
Actually, I like the triangle too, though.
Yeah, the bongo though, that was the main rhythm.
Yeah,
and,
I get it. I do.
They couldn't handle that.
Yeah. This was outside of where did you grow up?
Outside of DC.
Outside of DC. Okay.
Yeah. I was born in DC and then grew up outside.
Okay.
And then moved to Baltimore to go to school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you get into guitar?
I think I seriously got into it maybe at 14.
Was that your first instrument?
Clarinet.
Clarinet.
Yeah. And
okay, so what was the thought process behind that?
I don't know. I was in like 3rd, 4th grade.
And they had all these shiny instruments on the table.
And I don't know why I picked the clarinet. Not really sure. I know I didn't like it.
Okay.
I got to a point where you had to you had to get like where you had to hit the lever to get to another register.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, I'm done with this thing. So
Yeah.
I got out of the clarinet. Uh, and then like I said, my brother got the guitar, and I started picking it up. Couldn't play it for anything. So then when I was 14, I started really thinking like, you know what? I need to figure. This is something I want to do, and did that.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly when it was, but you come home and you practice 4 hours a day,
Yeah.
every day, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Who were your first influences?
Jimi Hendrix. It's funny. I have two tennis racket stories with two different friends. One of my friend, we used to come home, and he had it's probably RU experience, I'm pretty sure. And we would take tennis rackets and air guitar to that. And then I had another friend who came from California, and him and I were into Eddie Van Halen. And
Okay, that I cannot imagine.
we come home with the black lights, and we'd have all the kind of lights going on, and we'd be air guitar, and both of us ended up playing guitar.
Okay.
He ended up being a really wicked artist, a painter.
Okay.
So he ended up doing that for a career. But yes, those two, Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen. And I got lucky and accidentally bought a Robin Trower cassette. I don't know why. I think I liked the picture on the front. And that was my first blues I'd ever heard.
Okay.
This
was still as a teenager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A young teenager. But I like, I was always trying. My first recording experience was taking two cassette players, recording on one, and then after I did that, I'd play that back to another one, and jack into the other side, left to right, and then record another overdub, and then back and forth. It must have sounded insanely bad, and I feel bad for my mom having to listen to it. But
you have supportive parents?
Very.
Yeah.
Super. Still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm super lucky that way.
Yeah.
To have that, at an early age. And my dad told me a long time ago, he said, like, you don't want to be, he said 50, I think. You don't want to be 50 and look back and regret not trying things.
Yeah.
You really think you want to do. He probably regrets telling me that.
Yeah.
I took it to heart.
Like globe trotting and doing all this really, I don't see a minus, but we don't know each other that well, but
no. It's not a minus. The minus is only the road to get to a point where things are starting to cruise, but it's not a minus. I don't look back at weird stuff and regret that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It just worked,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you know that well.
So when did you start playing with other people?
Maybe, well, I had a band probably 15, 16. I started right away,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we played Living After Midnight was one of our hits.
You and I have gone through the same portal, which I would not have thought.
But I remember my friend's mom, who I only knew for a brief period of time, but she was super cool, because that had to sound terrible too. And we drove. I remember driving around in her car, and she put the cassette in, and she pretended like she loved it, And it was something. It gave me the confidence that, hey, look, check it out. We just started, and it already sounds good. And I'm sure it did. She was just being cool about it. Because my dad, not too long ago, I was listening to maybe a year later, I listened to a cassette out pulling weeds. I was pulling weeds out in the front yard, and he came out, and he's listening to my band. He's like, it sounds like the drummer's falling down the steps.
Yeah.
He didn't
fall down a flight of stairs.
He didn't know it was my band, but it was like, I thought it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, like a shoe in the dryer.
Yeah.
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 So I don't think it was Judas Priest. It was
no.
MTV Rock.
Yes. And so this band was we did like early Dokken.
Okay.
Kicks.
Yeah. Atomic Bombs. I did Atomic Bombs.
Yes. Yep. And I think we did like really early Motley Crue.
Livewire. I did.
Cool.
Same band.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, it was cool. And our first gig was at an old folks home. This was the front row.
That's weird.
That was my first experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then, but it was cool because I was a Filipino family and Filipino American, and they had this house way out in the country, and they let us do anything. We couldn't smoke weed. That's the only thing we couldn't do. And
Mhm.
they had this big house, a gigantic field, and a big pit. And they let us build a stage on top of the hill, right in front of this big house barn they made for the grandma. So we had a big ass stage, and we had a big field for parking, and they let us buy kegs, and I probably made more money then than I do now at a kid. But so they were super supportive. They was a whole downstairs except for the kitchen.
Mhm.
And grandma used to cook us all kind of cool food, and we had lights, we had monitors, we had a full PA, the whole thing. It was our whole downstairs they gave us. So that's a pretty incredible first band.
Yeah. Support that people coming together that has to, the things that have to, the meet to make that happen
Right.
is really, that's really fortunate. That's really fortunate.
And that's funny too, because I was an athlete first.
Okay.
I mean, I like music, but I played basketball, baseball, and football. And so I was playing baseball, and I was getting to that point. I had to decide, okay, am I going to be a baseball player, or because if you choose that, if you're playing in college, that's it. There's no time for anything else.
Yeah.
They want you to just do that. And I already hated the politics in sports. I already came from the school.
That's why I got out of it.
Yeah, my football coach was his name's Coach Johnson. He's now coaches at Penn State. I'm sorry, Ohio State. He coached at Penn State for a while.
Okay.
He actually was super cool. He's also my kindergarten coach, teacher. Sorry, kindergarten teacher, gym teacher. And he was actually a nice dude. But the other coaches all wanted to be either head coaches or they wanted to coach a college. So they didn't really care about the kids, And I knew I was already seeing college is even worse. So, anyways, I used to go by this archery range on the way to that band practice, and there was this guy that was like 80-some years old and he played the banjo, and he was killing it.
Mhm.
Super fast and having a blast. I'm like, man, he's in his 80s and he's still doing this music thing.
Yeah.
Of course I have to choose music.
Yeah.
How long can you play baseball? So that was a turning point. That's when it's like, okay, I'm in. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I was probably like 17 or 18.
All right.
Now
So you graduate from high school. You did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to Towson.
Okay, what did you study?
Business, like
Okay.
marketing. Yeah.
Good.
Hey,
That's smart.
Yeah, I didn't want to study music because I just
I do know.
yeah, yeah.
I do. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm a music industry major. My degree is in music industry, and I do what I do. And I didn't go as music education because I didn't want to educate their way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not.
I've seen some people come out of music schools that had a great experience.
Yeah,
There fit them.
To me, it was a piece. My degree was good. It did fine, but if I had to teach marching band, like I'm a guitar player,
Right.
I'm a bass player. I'm not,
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand totally. So marketing, that's what I would tell anybody. If anybody wants to get into music business these days, learn, study with somebody.
Yeah.
And take marketing. It's a marketing thing. Music.
There was some cool classes. I love physics and I love psychology.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to school. Like I pretty much went to school for my parents, and then it was like if it was a whole if you have something to fall back on, you'll have this business degree. And I can tell you, I never had a moment of I'm worried about having something to fall back on.
Yeah.
That's not that would never. Well, I'll tell you something important about part of who I am. My last year of high school, my first year of college, within like probably about 14 months, I lost 11 close friends.
Really?
And not two together, one at a time. From a lot of car accidents, meningitis, accidental shooting, suicide, those kind of things. And when that happens to you at that age, you're already trying to decide what's life about.
Yeah.
And you see that if you don't learn from that tomorrow is not promised, then you're
Mhm.
not going to learn a thing. So I already had it in me at 19 and 20 years old that there's no chance I'm going to do something for a living that I do not like to do, that I regret.
All you need is one bad job
Yeah. Yeah, I never have, because I would.
that teaches you that.
Yeah. Well, I hope it teaches everybody that, because I would.
Yeah.
It hurts to think someone's going to work every day and doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And
To get up on Monday morning and to be,
oh
yeah, to hate what they do. Yep.
yeah.
So we
Yeah.
were rich.
Yeah, I mean, I just really hope the people that are having that situation find a way out of it, because I just can't.
Yeah.
Because you could die tomorrow. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is not here. Like it's
Yeah,
not.
no
Who
promise.
knows? Yeah. So anyway, so that really shaped everything. That was like, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
This,
There was no number two.
no.
Okay,
The school thing was like a hard thing. I didn't like it. I didn't.
Did you
Like
graduate?
yeah. I could have been a doctor. I didn't graduate in 4 years. Anyways,
Nor I.
yeah.
I started in '87. I graduated in 2001. Yeah.
Yeah. But and it's funny because I passed up a tour to Japan. I had this band called COD when I was in college, and we were R&B, and we got an offer to go to Japan. And at the same time, I'm like, if I don't just buckle down and take as many credits as I can take and get out of school, I can't do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I thought like, oh, well, obviously I'll just keep getting these offers to go to Japan or wherever. So I turned it down. And then the next one didn't come for a long time.
All right.
It's like, wow.
But it did come.
It came, yeah, but I was like, if that comes again, I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, that taught me a little something too.
Yeah. So your music, as you're going through school, you had bands all the way through college?
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of bands were these?
So my first band was the R&B thing. So my first band was like we talked about.
Judas Priest, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, there was a band from my area that played. They played nothing but Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and there's another one that played nothing but Sex Pistols and the Stones.
Okay.
And, which is pretty. Actually, I thought, looking back, like I'm glad I had those two at least. It wasn't
Yeah.
very bands. So I had like the rock band, and then I had and then I did the R&B thing. No, I'm sorry, rock band, a little bit of a Cure thing, ish.
Mm-hmm.
Then went to school and got involved in this R&B band. I actually got involved just to learn how to play keys. And so I played keys and guitar in this band. And I think we were 3 years, and we played the funny thing, I'm in Baltimore, we played mostly in Northern Virginia, in DC.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine trying to get back and forth to Towson, and go to class and all that. And travel, and we played like 4 nights a week in like a hotel circuit thing or a club circuit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool. I met a lot of good people. The keyboard player in our band, his name's Tony Taylor. He was a producer, and he produced Eva Cassidy when she first started to
Mm-hmm.
the studio. So I was lucky enough that my first studio experiences was with Eva Cassidy, and he would let me come with, and so I got to play some guitar on some of her stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
just hang out and see, how real it can be,
Mm-hmm.
because she was no joke.
Yeah.
And the other guitar player in my R&B band, Steve Windsor, his dad, Billy Windsor, was a singer for Danny Gatt. So I was hanging around Danny Gatt and Eva Cassidy. And I was actually bringing those two together to do a recording. I probably wasn't going to be involved in the recording, but and they both wanted to do it, and then they both died.
Yeah.
Actually, she was going to sing on a Radio Caroline album of ours, and I was just checking to make sure the date was still good. And when I called, her boyfriend gave me the news that she was diagnosed with cancer and that she wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
which is if you don't know who Eva Cassidy is,
Yeah.
check out Eva.
I mean, yep.
One of the best singers that has ever been on this earth.
Yes. Maryland.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
So,
Danny Gatton, if you don't know, and Danny Gatton also.
Yeah, Danny Gatton. I was at Berkeley. He showed up with an upright bass player, Fender Twin, and a Telecaster, and he went through Joe Pass, Jerry Reed, Les Paul.
Mhm.
You know, he all in his little.
Yeah,
he's not to be understood.
Oof.
He's not to be understood. It's like the best stuff. I've always said the best stuff comes from mixtures, and Danny Gatton certainly was. Yeah, all about the mix.
He was soulful too. Like he could play super fast, but always a pushing and pulling the rhythm.
Yep.
You know.
So you say R&B? What kind of music are we talking?
Well, you shouldn't ask that question. the worst song we would play would be My Prerogative.
No, that's what people like.
Yeah, but we also
that's when it was new.
We would do Marvin Gaye.
Let's Get It On and.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We'd also like go outside of that. We'd play like the Doobie Brothers, like one of their songs, Long Train Runner or something.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember what was that guy's name? It'll come to me. But anyway, we did a mixture of that kind of stuff.
Play that funky music.
No, I'd never been in that band. But we did in Living Color Called a Personality.
Okay.
I actually played that with Dennis Chambers. Our drummer and Dennis Chambers were best friends.
Okay.
Dennis wanted to see our rehearsal, so he came, and he played that with us. And of course, he had never heard it, and he played it like, he played it better than our drummer played it.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the weird time stuff, he just could feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that band. So I think I'm not one of them. I want to been on that.
Now are you a reader?
I mean, I have studied music, but I never did it enough to sight read.
Okay.
So I've never done. I never had to do that on a gig.
Okay. How important is it, in your opinion? Not just in playing, but
I mean, I'll say this:
production.
If you could give me the ability to be a great sight reader and just give it to me, I would take it gladly.
Yeah.
But well, in a studio, as a producer, you certainly have to understand theory. Because when you get stuck somewhere, why are we stuck? Why is this rubby? Why are these notes not working? And you can go to a piano and figure that out pretty quick. And I'm not working with bands a lot where everybody's reading. I do some things, and I know enough to know, okay, here we are, and I can see where the bridge is happening, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do a ton of work where I would need to be great at that. I do a lot of work where I have to understand how to get us out of the situation we're stuck in. Or, I write tons of harmonies for bands, vocal harmonies and so I would say.
You ever have to feed a horn player apart?
Always.
Okay.
I mean, we used to
sing it to them,
or play it or something.
Okay.
Depends on how they how to best take in the idea.
Yeah. Communicate.
Yeah, like some people. Well, some people, like you while you're talking to them, that they have a problem hearing what you're saying and taking it in. Like they're way too complicated, so you have to figure another way to get across them. So it depends. But like sometimes go to the piano, sometimes on the guitar, sometimes sing it. A lot of times just sing it because that's the easiest, fastest way.
Yeah.
I'm working with someone that is good enough to hear that and do it and sing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say knowing theory is super important.
Yes.
For everybody.
Agreed.
Yep. And I fought it for a long time because I didn't want to be like anybody. I knew if I didn't even want to learn cover songs because I was afraid, well, I'll just use that same move because I've learned this and now it's gonna be my move. And I had this music in my head, like I already, I was like, I'm gonna get this out first. and I don't really think I was right about that. You know, I think
Mhm.
if you have the music in you, you'll always have that. So I eventually learned that the theory is going to help me get that out through my
Yeah.
fingers quicker. You know,
Mhm.
but I never do. I never think of that. Like when I'm playing, I'm a never a theory first. I'm like, I'm a hear it, and I'm trying to reproduce what's
What's
flowing.
in your, yep, what's in your ear, yep.
You know, I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm going
So
to,
hearing and listening are essential skills as well.
yeah, the
That's
most important,
more, huh?
the most important.
Yes,
You know,
agreed.
for the stuff that I'm involved in and that I dig,
Yes.
everything's
Now,
different.
yeah,
You
I
know,
know, but in your experience, we're, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so now, when did you're building up this, when did you start getting into really recording? What were your first projects that really, because that is like, for my listeners, that is kind of like one of the things you're really known for. You're an engineer, a producer.
Yeah, it's funny. I never really think of that. I've had to think of it recently because someone said that to me because I have my album coming out, and they're like, well, you know, people are thinking of you as they know you like produce stuff or you pull or he doesn't know. This particular person didn't know too much about me playing and traveling, you know, to South America and Europe kind of thing, which
Yeah.
is cool. And I was like, you know what? He's right. That's probably how people and I don't actually see it that way. It's like I do this gig because the first time I went to a studio, um, the engineer already had the drums mic EQ'd, and that was it. And he was like, I'm like thinking like I didn't know enough to say anything. So I was like, how could you already know what sound I want? You haven't even heard the song yet. I haven't even expressed to you what I'm hearing.
Hmm.
And so we recorded and we took them home. And it just didn't fit. So we took a shot at recording ourselves, and I had built myself a studio with another friend, and so we had all day to record the drums. We didn't have to we weren't on the clock, and we got something that fit the song better than we paid for.
Yeah.
And I learned that this person was always going to give me that sound. They were always going to give me the sound that they knew how to get, and it might be in a little tiny box, you know,
Hmm.
or the other person's gonna do what they think what they would want to do to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Never asked me one time what it is I'm hearing. So that was foray into recording. Is that if I don't learn the language and I don't learn how to express what it is I'm hearing or want, I'm never going to get it
Yeah.
because the people I'm having to trust sometimes don't care to get it, and I can't express it in a way that makes any sense. So I'll just, it's not going to work. So, and what happened is I just kept doing it, and then it got to a point where, I was getting pretty good at it, and then it just became. I always wanted to be a producer, but like I wasn't. I didn't think I would want to be. I didn't understand at that point how important it is to be a good engineer. Anyways,
Did you think you had that capability?
you know what? I didn't, because the guy we had the studio with, he would read a lot of stuff, and he was really technical that way. And together we could make stuff sound pretty good. And I kind of thought like, well, he's reading how to do it, and he read up on what gear to buy. So it's probably him is the reason why things sounded pretty good already,
All right.
And I think he was looking at me like we just trusted each other, kind of,
All right.
and it was going pretty good. It took me a little bit. I started doing some hip hop sessions in Baltimore, and I had to mix the whole other studio. I had to run the whole session, and it was scary, but I started to figure it out. And then there was a point where I thought I was pretty good, but I wasn't.
All right.
I would like mix something, and I used to do dance remixes with this guy DJ Spen, who's still traveling the world doing this. He's a great DJ, but we would get these remixes from Michael Jackson. What's her name? Diana Ross,
Okay.
the New Heavies, and
Brandon Hayes.
yeah. And what would happen is they'd like hit up like 7 remix producers, and they'd give them all the tracks to a song,
Yeah.
and then they'd pick like 3, and if you got picked, you'd get a decent amount of money. If you
Okay.
didn't get picked, you'd get like $200.
Okay.
So we for a while I don't know maybe 3 or 4 years I did that with those guys, and then I would also do some of the engineering, and then some of our stuff got picked up, and then it got played in clubs. So I went through that thing, like I play my mix in the club. It sounds totally terrible. I'm thinking like the sound system must be messed up. But then the next song comes on and it sounds great. I'm like, oh, that's me. That's my mixing is not ready, you know.
Okay.
So it took a lot of looking in the mirror and being honest with you. That is unbelievably important, is to be able to not take the piss with yourself, you know, to not think just because it's your idea or just because you did it, it's going to be great. You
Yeah.
have to be able to listen.
The real, there's a real value to humility. Yeah, this is something that I'm really, in recent days, I see like parents, if they too much too soon, and you've inflated egos and all this kind of stuff, you're screwing.
I had the same conversation, same thing, because I work with.
Yeah, so my thing is I reserve the right to suck. I reserve the right to suck because I know that anytime you pick up a new thing, you're not going to be dynamite at it.
No.
Okay.
And you have to know that I guarantee there's someone in this little town that I live in, Columbia, that'll smoke me on guitar. There's probably an accountant, you know, probably plays guitar just for fun.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to have, I mean, you have to have the idea that you have to have some confidence, of course, to get on stage, or even to produce a band, like to say, hey, I got an idea, you know, but you also have to understand that, you know, you're not the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So my thing is like, I'm not competing against you. I'm not competing against Led Zeppelin. I'm not competing against Jimi Hendrix. I'm competing against me.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah.
I don't compete with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hearing things that I love to hear.
Yep.
I want to come out to the speakers back there.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal.
Yeah. So when did Radio Caroline emerge?
I was thinking about the other day. It must have been like 98-ish.
Now, how long? What's the timeline? When did you graduate from college?
Maybe 94, 95,
Okay.
like that. And I had met Kirk Phillips, the singer from that band, at the studio I built with my other friend.
Okay.
He had a band, and him and I were just starting to butt heads. He had many things about him that could rub you the wrong way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he liked to argue and that kind of thing. All the things I hate arguing just for
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. And then Kirk came in the studio because we played this club. He was a bartender, and we talked about the studio. He's like, I want to got some songs. He came in, and he was very like Bruce Springsteen-ish energy.
Okay.
Good, really good voice, and songs were pretty good. I mean, ended up becoming way better. But I saw something in him, and we connected. So him and I started writing, and then I split up with my partner in the studio, and Kirk had a apartment down in Spells Point, so we'd go down there, you know, a lot, and we neither of us had money, so we were like making macaroni and cheese, and I think we never had milk for some reason. We never had milk, so it was always like macaroni and cheese and butter, and that little stuff you sprinkle in, and you can know what that is like.
Yeah.
And we listened to a bunch of music, and we'd write music, and so then we needed a drummer and we needed a bass player, and we finally found a 4-piece
Mm-hmm.
that we dug. And then Steve Windsor, who was in the R&B band, he eventually joined us, and we became a 5-piece.
Okay.
And we were together for a long time, 12 years or something.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
And that was intact, that same lineup?
We lost our bass player at the very end.
Okay.
Maybe like the last 3 years. And Kirk went from playing guitar to bass, and then we stayed as a 4-piece for a while.
Okay. So
And
what was it? What was the concept behind that band?
I think we were all into, well, Steve, being from Danny Gatton camp, he was into rockabilly, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the drummer, Kirk, and myself were into Americana
Mm-hmm.
type things. And the bass player was into Michael Hedges and
Michael Manring.
like some jam stuff.
Okay.
And
So it's all over the place.
yeah, but it was like rock with some soul to it. We all kind of had that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we wrote well together. The bass player was amazing. He still is. He's still a friend of ours. But we made a guitar for him. It was a acoustic guitar. He drilled the hole through the E string peg, the low E string, so he could fit a bass string, an A, in on it.
Mm-hmm.
So he just took off the high E and put that A string on there and tuned it down. I think it was tuned to C maybe, and that became. He'd play some of the show with that, and we would record with it. And we try to have an instrumental on every song to showcase he's a really good guitar player, like Michael Hedges thing. Like he was.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like a soul rock band, and we just all jived with that same thing, and our groove was really good together.
So that was like at college. From college, your soul band, soul rock, all the way through like the 2000s.
Yeah. And while I was doing that, I started to get into the blues thing,
Okay.
and I met Dale Wise
Mm-hmm.
on Dale's drums in Harrisburg.
Yep.
He recorded here with some guys, and it was like a bunch of blues guys. Like it was like people coming in and out and playing on stuff. And, Big Mitch and that. And but I noticed in some of those players, like I felt a similar groove. Like I felt something, right? So then we jammed a little bit, and then Dale went to Mississippi with Dave, the guitar player, and he recorded something. And I was still driving back and forth between here and Baltimore. I did that for 10 years. And
we got to talk about how did you get, okay, so for my listeners who do not know, you are part of Right Coast Recording,
right,
in Columbia, Pennsylvania. So tell us a story about how that all came about.
Well, Kirk and I from Radio Caroline, we're going to do this thing called NACA, which is something like North American College Association. And basically what it is every college has a committee that picks the entertainment for the year, and they have a good budget. And they have these big conferences, and you have a booth as an artist or a band or a magician, whatever it is. And the committees come around and just looking for something they want to hire. And we knew that there was there was a good opportunity for us. So him and I, and we were just recording. We were we did some shows, but we were mostly like not out and about as much as we should have been. And we realized we needed to be. So anyways, we wanted to see what a conference was like. So we drove to North Carolina, to Winston-Salem, to see one, not to be in one. And we were like, they took it super serious. Everyone had really pimped out spaces. So we came back and we really pimped ours out. We had a black leather couch with 3 listening stations. We made candies with Radio Carolina on them. We were playing our music through the speakers of the booth, and this guy from Philadelphia music conference came through, and he's like, "Man, you want to play our conference? I'll give you a good slot." I'm like, yeah. So we did that, and then it's kind of funny. John Harris at the Philadelphia one came by, and he said the same thing. And he gave us like a headlining spot in their ballroom.
Okay.
And we brought our B3 player with us. Well, after we got done, someone said, "Hey, there's a studio recording this show behind you in a conference room." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." I like, yeah, sure. They have like a little Mackie board and an ADAT machine, I go back there, and my partners from the studio were back there with a Trident, and the band being in the live room didn't sound so good, but in their little space, they sounded like Radiohead, And they really liked my band, and I really dug what they're doing. But they're both touring engineers, so they were touring with Yes and the Stones and those kind of bands, and they weren't here enough to make it work.
Yeah.
And so I gave them a CD I made on an 8-track analog machine, with Radio Caroline. They called me up and said, you need to come check the studio out. And I came up on 9/11. Like we had to move out of our space on 9/11. That we were at Radio Carolina. So I came up here, and so it came from taking it serious and going to Winston-Salem, driving 7 hours each way, just to make sure when we did our conference that we knew that we looked good. And because of that, we got some gigs from that. This is my life. We got some gigs from NACA, which is what we were trying to do. But what we really got out of it is the studio.
Yes.
I never get what I think I'm going to get.
But
I always get something.
Something better.
Yeah, something. It's just like
way better.
Like taking the journey. You got to start it. You
Yeah.
got to leave. You can put your head down in your room and do all these things, which is cool. But you do have to go take the journey. You have to go.
You got to jump off.
You got to get yourself out there. You got to see where you. Well, there's lots of things about that journey. One of them is like seeing where you lack. Where people are better than you, where you're not, and where
Again, humility.
Yeah, and where also where you're doing well.
Strengths.
Yeah, and just to get in front of people, to meet people, to give you to have some shared opportunities maybe. I remember I was driving a boat one time with my friend. And we were super hungover. We were like in Annapolis, and we were supposed to be fishing, but we couldn't even fish. we had to. Let me drive like a couple miles back to shore, and he pointed in the distance at these buildings, and he said, drive towards them. So I'm driving, and he comes up. He's like, I know you think you're driving straight, but you're all over the place. You got to pick something much smaller to drive towards. So I'm like,
boy, that's a poetic.
Yeah, I'm like, I see what you're saying, and I remember that, and I still do that. Like I still pick something very, very. Where am I going? I'm going right there, and of course I never go there. But because I'm going there, along that journey, I see all these other things I never would have seen.
Yeah,
I have my eyes open. I'm like, okay, just in case something comes up, and something always comes up because you're out. And if you're easy to get along with, then people don't mind hanging out with you tomorrow either.
Yeah. So the hang part of this whole thing, that is definitely a real. In other words, you would take somebody who might not be Michael Hedges on their guitar, but he's a good hang, because if you're going to be on the road with him,
100%.
You don't want to surround yourself with weird ass energy for months at a time.
No.
That can adapt to anything.
Yeah, I mean, I know it was a dream of mine for a long time to tour, and that probably is what you hope to do as your position. You like to tour. Yeah. You'll never understand how hard that is until you're in it. Until you're going to sleep at 4 and waking up at 6 to go do some interview or something like that. It's really not the easiest thing in the world, but you're working for yourself, and that's what like makes it easier, But if you're doing all that and then with people that you don't want to be around, I don't know how you do it.
That's the job.
It'd be impossible for me.
That's a job. Yeah. The people that are yeah.
I mean, you have
energy is there.
And
it has to be there.
You got to trust the people you're around too, because that's your name. That's your name. Like you have to be able to trust the people you're with. Like if one of us does something stupid in the club or in a town, and then they're gonna look at the whole project and say, don't hire them.
Yeah.
I can't be with people that are gonna do that.
Yeah.
I mean, Carlos and I are nuts, but it's
it's good nuts.
Controlled nuts,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about some of your new, and I say new within the last 10, 12, 13 years, some of your projects. Carlos, let's talk about Carlos.
I have a band with Dale Wide. We're called the Cornlickers, and
Cornlickers, yes.
And we were lucky enough to be.
Was Tony Ryder always a part of that?
I mean, yes. I mean, if it was a 2-piece, a 3-piece, and a 4-piece, but it happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
So yes, maybe not in the very beginning, but for the giant chunk of it, was the four of us. But we were Big Jack's backing band, and he's from. I don't, he wasn't
Big Jack who?
Big Jack Johnson.
Okay.
But Big Jack Johnson.
Yeah. So he was your main mentor.
He's a bad dude. Yeah, yeah, that's, I've noticed playing with him, you can watch someone play and learn a lot, but playing with somebody is everything. Because Rod, if you and I are playing together, right, and we're both having, here comes a five.
Yeah.
How we getting there?
Yeah.
Oh, we're hanging on the five, waiting for the singer to give us that cue. How do we not skip it? Going to the four. Oh, there's a quick two.
Yeah.
Raise five. I get to see how you get there. I get to see how you respond to those things. I get to see how you deal with the crowd. I get to see how you, I get to hear all these endless melodies that come out of you and have to react to it. But I learned so much just because we were both reacting on the same thing.
The same stimuli.
Yeah, and I really could feel how he was getting from place to place. And we'd talk about stuff too, but he also would challenge me like crazy. He would push it to places where my first gig with him, I know we got sidetracked, but this is a pretty funny one. I had recorded an album for him, and it did pretty well. He liked it, which is everything. And then I made the second album, and we put more time into it, put money in the artwork and that kind of thing. And I'm gonna go down to Mississippi for the first time. It's like 2005-ish. And I'm going to give him the CD, and then him and I are going to play the juke joint with Dale. Three of us, no bass player.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I'm going to be the Prince. I'm coming down with the CD. It looks super cool. It sounds good. He's going to dig it, right? Well, before that night, before I got to see him, the juke joint owner, Red, took us to go eat. And we played him the CD on the way there because of a song called Going Down to Big Reds. And we thought he would dig it that Jack wrote a song for him. So we get to the club that night. Red's got a whole grill full of meat. Big Jack comes up to me and he says, "Does anyone have the CD yet?" And I said, "No." And I gave it to him. You're the first one. And so he has it. He puts it in the little CD player at the juke joint. Red walks by and he turns to Red. He's like, "Hey, sit down. I want you to hear my CD." Meanwhile, Red can't sit down. He's got a whole thing of meat grilling, about to play a show. But Red says to him, "Oh, heard it," and just keeps walking. Not like heard it, liked it, not anything. Just I heard it, and just kept walking. And Big Jack turns around and looks at me with this crazy look on his face, and he walks up and he said, "Man, if your girl bought your underpants, would you want another man wearing them first?" Oh shit! We go right from that to the stage.
Uh-huh.
And I never played with him before. I just produced albums from him, but it's the first time I'm going to play with him.
Yeah.
And no bass player, so I have to be the one to react to. He it's not like 1 4. It's like it could go anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
And I closed my eyes, and I remember people everywhere, and he hates me, and my whole mental thing had changed because I was going to be the Prince. Now I'm not. I'm the jester, And I closed my eyes and I'm sitting there like I just drove 17 hours. And I drove 17 hours that day with Dale to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could be at home in my underpants.
That's some manifestation, though. You have to have some belief.
Oh my. But I literally pictured myself on my couch in Baltimore in my underwear eating. I'm like, I could be right there eating instead I've driven 17 hours for this guy who hates me, So I was like, all right, Bob, you gotta do it. Come on,
Yeah.
So we start playing. Now making pretty good choices of following him. And then another guitar player was there who's still a good friend of ours. He's like, "Oh, you don't have a bass player? I'll play bass." So he starts to play bass and he's missing changes left and right. And Jack says, "You know what? We don't need the bass." And we finished the show and he was super cool to me after that. And kind of apologized for the CD thing. And after that, him and I were super tight. But it started off completely the wrong way. That was brutal. But yeah, he just
Well, you piss off your hero.
Yeah, I know. And then one gig, he just took his guitar home and he just presented it to me, like big crowd from Europe, all over the place, I'm like, he said, play something. I'm like, oh no. And I wasn't like really writing a lot of blues stuff at that point, or like, things. But luckily, the band got with me. I had to tighten the strap up like 4 feet because he's a big boy. I put it on like down to my knees.
Yeah.
Get it up. And luckily, I jumped in this thing, and the band got with me, and the people started dancing. And he's like, "So play something." And I must have played something that wasn't terrible. And the next day, he was giving me hell, like, "You tried to cut me," when two guitar players to go at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, man, I couldn't cut you with
Yeah.
10 knives, But he said, no, it's all right, because I'm not gonna be here forever. Like, it needs to, needs to pass along. So he just gave me a lot of confidence too, like that I was who I thought I was, in a sense, whatever.
Say again.
And I kind of like I am who I thought I am.
Okay.
Ish,
Or even better.
Yeah, I mean, that's how
Better than you thought you were.
that too, like, and like also confidence, like, man, it just worked now. Like, if you keep working, you're gonna keep getting better, because now we're getting smarter, both of us, like you and I. Like, I know when you go to learn something, it's probably like that. When back in the day, it might take 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we're working,
Mm-hmm.
You're working and being consistent. And that's one thing I try to express to some people that in the studio, like, what we're doing right now is super hard, and it's only gonna be super hard today. So let's get through it. Once you get the skill, tomorrow you'll have the skill. And it's not going to take as hard, or it's not going to work as hard, but you can't get the skill until we do it. But don't think of it like
stuff that you struggle with is the stuff that sticks with you.
Yeah. And it's not always going to be a struggle. It's only a struggle when you're learning it,
Then we go back to I reserve the right to suck, because it's a temporary condition.
Yeah. Well, I can suck. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
But it's, things get easier. It's like, but it's if you're going to test your boundaries, it's going to be bad. You can't just play all the stuff.
No. Yeah, you're right. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tell people I've learned how to cover I learned how to cover the thing you need to cover in case someone kicks you there. You know what I'm saying?
Your ass?
And then the other side.
Okay.
When you test it, when you challenge yourself, that's what you learn, because you get kicked there.
Yeah.
And ladies, trust me, it's super painful. I don't want to be I know you guys have a lot of pain, but this one.
Yeah.
And so the next time
we don't give
birth.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't, and lots of other things. So I'm not saying that, but that one thing is brutal. And but when it happens, you recognize when someone's trying to do it again quick.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I react when I fail. It's like I feel like it's like that. Like, that ain't happening again.
Yeah. But it doesn't stop you from trying. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'll put myself,
get back on the horse, make it right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just try to learn, like, what was it that what did I do? How did I?
So Big Jack Johnson, how long did that last? You played with him.
Well, I probably met him in like 2004. Played with him from 2005 till he passed, 2011.
Okay.
Yeah. So this story is, that was a long way to get to this. I'm playing at the juke joint. He had passed, I guess, 2012, and Carlos came from Colombia, South America, and he was Carlos Elliot. Carlos Elliot.
Yes.
Carlos Elliot. Sorry. And
Carlos Santana.
Carlos,
Yeah.
And he knew the Cornlicker name because he had an album that I produced, a Big Jack. It was Big Jack with Cornlicker, so he had it. So he came to see us at the juke joint. He's like, "Man, can I play with you?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." He played, and he wasn't great, but he understood the music. It was his first trip there. But what he did was he recorded it secretly and took it home and put it on iTunes as Carlos Elliot and the Cornlickers. And I don't know how I came across it. I don't know if someone told me or I just found it. And I'm like, this kid gets it. Because I've worked with so many blues people, that Mississippi wise too, that they're not going to do anything to help the cause. They're gonna play, and they're gonna be a great musician, and that live they're gonna be amazing, but don't expect any help with promotion or any other thing, you know. And I'm like, man, he gets it already, you know. So he came back the next year. He was better. He the first year he was way dressed up and too dressed up. Second time he came back much more like he is now. And we played again. He was better. And this time I said, we were probably drinking, and I said, if you can make it to Pennsylvania, we'll record something with you. And he did. He got somehow he found a way to get to Pittsburgh for some kind of, you know, exchange thing. And so we made a record, and of course, you know, we put our 100% into it. He took it back to Columbia, and one of the songs made number 8 on the charts. And it was like just behind Paul McCartney.
Really?
Yeah. And so then because of that, we got invited to this big festival in Columbia. It's called Rock Al Parque, and it's 200,000 people, and it's free to go, but the government pays for it. So it's like a lot of bands in the United States, like Fishbone was there, and that's what's the guy, Zach Wild, his band, but a bunch of bands, right?
Yeah.
And so that helped us a lot with, obviously, get the name out to get that big of a concert. So the next album we put out, I think 2 songs from that album ended up going to number 1, which also helped a lot. And then
This is what years are we talking about?
this is probably maybe like 2013, 2015.
That's, you know,
Those albums
that's got to
came
be
out.
a much more hip place in the world. I'm reminded of how big the world is.
Bogota's 9 million people just in Bogota, in one city. You
Okay.
know? It's craziness, but
Yeah, but the thing of it is what I'm saying is, we think that
Yes.
our situation is the world situation. And you go to Brazil or South America. You go to South America, and
yeah, I see what you're saying. And yeah, you're right, because they
no,
were.
we're all auto tuning here.
Yeah,
That's all we get. People, you know, and down there, their number 1 songs are created by you guys.
they it's a lot of fun playing for a crowd in South America, because they're very appreciative. They're super into what do you call it? Well, just like different cultures. So I remember we played this place. It's called Popayan, and it's south in Colombia. Go all the way to Ecuador. Still got like another 12, 15 hours maybe, but it's up on this hill. And the Spanish came and brought Catholicism heavy-handedly to the area. But they built these giant white churches, beautiful city, but it's very, very traditional. And we played this festival, and it's the town square, when it's a nice stage, and there were some other bands besides traditional bands, but it was all Columbia stuff. And I'm like, man, they're gonna hate us, you know, because we were playing, our stuff was it's not aggressive like heavy rock, but it's pretty Neanderthal blues in some way. You know?
Neanderthal blues.
Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, they're gonna hate us. We go to play, and it's like people came from everywhere. Like, there was a square, and there's like little streets and stuff. We started playing, and when we got done playing, we got a chance to talk to a bunch of people, and they got it that we traveled that far. But not only did we go from the United States into Bogota, and then probably drive or fly to some other city, that we also drove another several hours to get to the little town to play for it. And they appreciated it like crazy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All ages, all different kind of people, and they got with it and they dug it, and that's how the people are there. You know, they're incredibly passionate about it too, and their bands are no joke. They're working hard. I'm lucky enough to produce some stuff down there, and there's this band I work with, Watches, from Bogota, and I wish they were here. Like, I wish they were here you know, just maybe even just this area to say, hey, this is your competition. You know,
Yeah.
Jimmy's band down the street's not your competition. You know, if you're like looking at Jimmy's band as like I got to be that good,
Yeah.
this band's in Bogota, killing it. You
Yeah.
know, it was the same thing in France, and there's really good bands around here too, which I kind of like about this area. I'm definitely not saying that there isn't, but I would love to see. I love to see competition. I love to see synergy,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't really mean competition like the way we were saying before.
Not like sports.
Yeah, yeah, and it's more like
We inspire each other.
fire each other. Like, yeah, we did that with each other before.
Yeah.
We had our two armed funk bands. You know, it was like you guys are doing your thing, we're doing our thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was like we got to be good. You know, you got to be good because they're gonna see that band.
Yeah.
They come see us. You know,
Yeah.
and I rooted for you, and I always felt like you were rooting for me too.
Absolutely did.
So that's the other part.
Let's talk about Shrimpboat. Back to R&B.
Yeah, well, it's funny because they're all connected. I was playing. That was an 8-piece band. And Jason Hoffines, who's born in York but has lived in many places, is a really incredible musician and drummer. And our friend Tony Ryder Jr. called me one day and he said, "Hey, my friend's coming to town. I think you guys will get along." Jason came to the studio fresh off of Nashville, living there for a while.
Cherry Twister, whatever.
Yeah, and he was living in Nashville for a while. He just came back to town, and I had to be working on a song, so we literally said hi. I said, "Do you want to play drums on it?" He went out and played drums, and then I played something, guitar or something. Then he went and played piano, and I played like a whirly, and we didn't talk hardly at all. But by the end of the night, we had written our first song together, and maybe it said like 10 words, like that's cool. That's about it, you know. So we knew that we had this thing. I was like, man, I really want to start a funk band. You know, I've wanted to do it for a long time. Because I have all these ideas, and I want, you know, and I need a vehicle for it, you know. So
yeah,
it took me 5 years to put that band together. Of just because it was a certain groove that I knew had to be there, and when I see it, I see it. Like especially when people come to the studio, I'm like, he's got it, she's got it, you know. And so that's how that band came about. And we didn't last that long, maybe 3 years ish. But you know, we did some cool things, and
yeah, it was super cool. Jason played with us too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and
like
then
right.
Then we got canceled one time, and Jason was mad.
Yeah,
it was something I did. It's like, no, I'm not. I want to play with you. I want to play with you. It wasn't. It's not a choice. The whole band was canceled for whatever happened.
He takes it super serious.
Yeah.
Like
so he hasn't spoken to me since.
Damn it.
It's like, not, you know, we don't, you know, not everyone's our fan, but I thought the world of his artistry. I can't take anything away from that.
He definitely has that thing.
Yeah.
So then what happened was Carlos and I started to take off. So you know, the Cornlickers we're playing backing up Carlos. And Carlos, we just connected. So we started, you know, writing songs together, and we made more records. And I would go down there by myself quite a bit. And him and I would tour with a local drummer, Eduardo. And Shrimpboat, it was 8 people, you know, and eventually there became a little divide because there's a lot of characters in that band. And I was like, you know what? I could play with 3 people and tour all around South America. What am I doing? You know,
it was a cool experiment.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
It was completely not a wedding band.
No.
Where many people, when they start up a groove band or a funk band, they try to be a wedding band.
Yeah, it's funny. Like
it's like a greatest. I'm not saying the greatest hits, but it's like trying to cover songs.
Right.
In such a way that makes it sound like they belong in a like a hotel.
Right.
And you weren't that. You guys weren't that.
People get a lot of credit. I've been in the clubs. I'll even name it McCleary's, and I like McCleary's. And I went in there one day, and the band was playing, and they just weren't great. And they played Play That Funky Music, White Boy. And the people got up and they start like, yes. I'm like, you're only getting up at the idea of the song, not this groove. You don't even know what you're dancing to, but the idea that they're playing something that's supposed to be funky means it's funky, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of bands do that too. They do it. They think because we're playing something that someone else did is funky, then we're doing it funky. But then it's like playing James Brown. Like you as a bass player and guitar player, you understand this.
Mm-hmm.
James Brown licks are incredibly repetitive, which makes it funky.
Yes.
It's not changing and changing and changing and changing.
Yeah. This isn't
And
Jethro Tull.
yeah, if you want to make it funky, then you gotta love repetition.
Yes.
And it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what something I love about playing with Cornlickers is that and Shrimpboat too, that everyone loved the feeling of when it feels like one hand.
The one.
Well, the one on James Brown, of course, that's
Well, I'm just saying, if everything is the one, yeah.
yeah, but when it feels like it's one person playing,
Yeah.
amazing feeling. And then when you have dancers involved, they're part of the band.
You're part
of the audience. You know, we're both things. Because if you see someone break it down and they like do some groove, you're like, oh, that's funky, you know.
Yeah.
You play to that person, you know. And that's one of my favorite things about performing live is when there's good dancers expressing themselves, you know. I love that part about it. And I love playing playing other parts of the world, playing a song that these people have never heard before, and probably a style of music they had never heard. And watching someone get down dancing just like they would in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
They are sometimes I look over at Carlos and like she's breaking it down just like our friend in Mississippi. She never even heard it before, but you know, sometimes the music makes the body move like that and whatever. But I love that aspect about it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so you know, and of course, Carlos and I we're still doing our thing, and we have plenty of things happening.
Yeah.
We're working on.
So rhythm, every other style, it's like it shows you new things. They're new lessons.
Yeah.
New sounds and new lessons.
Well, and that's cool too. Carlos and I, we're not even though we try to keep soul and blues as our root, and Mississippi, because that's given us a thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're associated with Mississippi, the hill country and Delta. It certainly helps us. It helped us a lot with getting on the radio and those kind of things. So we love it. So we're not going to leave that, but we're also not afraid to challenge ourselves and do some music. We have a song called Ahora that's on YouTube. I think I sent you maybe a link for it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very Andes sounding, you know, and like little, like, what's it called? Charangas, little guitars and flutes and things. And like, we're always.
Did you just say very Andes sounding?
Yeah.
I never heard a human being ever say that.
Well, check the song out. You'll make. Yeah, it's like the Andes Mountains, you know, like that region.
Mm-hmm.
They have a certain way that and certain instrumentation in a certain way. We kind of incorporate it.
Mm-hmm.
Also did this album. We got paid for this. It's crazy. To do a what do you call it? A fusion of traditional Colombian music and Mississippi blues. And
Okay.
I think I went down 3 times to Colombia to record this album, but it taught us a lot too, because you know what I love about that area is that you don't mess with traditional music. Like it doesn't change very much from year to year, hardly at all.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, we're doing a fusion, we're not trying to change it. We're just going to put these two things together. They're cool with that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't say you're doing traditional music and then don't do traditional music.
Oh yeah.
They will not dig that.
Yeah.
So we had to find a way to put these two music together. One's like the traditional Colombian music is like more of a 6/8-ish feel, maybe like even a little waltzy.
Mm-hmm.
And blues is 4/4, you know. So like, how do we get these two things together? And from finding out from solving that code, it opened up a lot of other things for us, and they're showing in our music right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so so we're still doing that. And then
You're working on your own uh, CD.
Yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about that.
yeah. I
That I'm excited about. Cause was it 2 years ago that I saw you at Cable House?
yes, yes, yeah.
That was
Uh,
wonderful. All
yeah.
those guys are you. Yeah, it's like the dregs of the Shrimpboat.
Yes.
But those are great.
That's a good way to say it.
You know what I mean? No, that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
great
yeah.
musicians. Great
Most of the
musicians.
band. That we only had like 2 rehearsals because Jason was out of town. But because we were in Shrimpboat so long, we know how to rehearse with each other.
Yeah.
So I mean, and luckily, again, it's always nice when people at your back because it's like it's not something I've done before. I might sing a song at night with the band or something like that. But when you're the one,
Mm-hmm.
that's a different world.
Mm-hmm.
Just even like you don't even think about like I'm standing up with guitar, like I practiced some of the songs sitting down. I practice a lot, but when we got to rehearsal, it was like, oh, damn it. It's like now I'm moving and
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole other thing I was even thinking about. Anyway, so um it's something I've wanted to do for a while, but what happens is I'm around so many great singers that I end up losing the confidence in me. Like why do I need to make one? People there's so many better singers in my mind.
What would Big Jack Johnson say?
Oh man, I'll tell you what he said. Because I asked him one time, like he sang this kind of very Howlin' Wolf kind of I don't know what you call it. Is this weird like screeching sound that comes to it's like it's really small and reedy that comes out of the space.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a song called Katrina about the hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
And he does this one line uh, about it howling through the woods, and he gets this crazy voice. And I'm like, man, I want to do that. He goes, you can do it. I'm like, well, can you show me how? He goes, yeah. And I said, how do you do it? He goes, you just gotta practice. that's how. That's all you're gonna tell me, But he basically he said later on, I was like, man, you just gotta do it. You can't be shy about it. You gotta figure it out. And luckily what happened was I had written enough songs for other people that I would write something and then I'd give it to them and then they'd sing it back to me and I couldn't wait. So I'm like, I could hear them like, oh, they're gonna kill it. I can't wait to hear it. And 9 out of 10 times I would be disappointed, like, oh, that's not what I thought was gonna happen. I finally realized that the one thing I do have is rhythm and groove. Like,
All right. Now we're talking.
right, right. So like I that's my natural ability.
Mm-hmm.
So just having that, like being able where you put the words and be able to push and pull the rhythm and make it soulful and that kind of thing. I realized that okay, I do have that. Then like everything else, I just had to like push myself and come in the studio and make it, do it until I thought it was cool. And the cool thing was is that once making the record wasn't that difficult in that a lot of people don't know if you're making your own, doing your own thing, it can be super hard to know when to be finished. When am I done? Or when does this take good enough? And luckily, I'm making it at a point where I'm already over that. I can listen to myself honestly and know that was good or that wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Move on. So I did a pretty good job of that. And just as I like got confidence, I wrote the song and I came in to sing it and I failed miserably. It was the first time on the record that happened. I'm like, oh, here I go again. And then someone also turned me on this other band called the Greyhounds, or they might just be called Greyhounds, a 3-piece band. They're singers. They got 2 singers. The one's is unbelievable, super soulful. I'm like, damn it, see, that's a singer.
Mm-hmm. You ever try copying anything?
Well,
Like, do you ever vibe off? You ever vibe off of people like that?
Well, I didn't like copy it, but what I did do the next day I came in, I'm like, look, you have to do what feels good coming out of your face. You don't have to do what he does. Do what feels good.
Yeah.
And I'm making this record, I got even better at listening to the freak voice, I call it. Is that voice back here saying, you should put this part in there. And the other voice is like, what are you, crazy? Don't put that part in there. That's ridiculous,
Yeah.
Then you do it, and then that ends up being your favorite part of the song. So I did a really good job listening to my freak voice. And it's the same song. The freak voice was telling me what to do, and I wasn't listening to it. And I failed.
Mm-hmm.
I came in the next day, I listened to it, and I wrote most of the song that day. And it's one of my favorite songs on the album. And and it just taught me a lesson about that. Well, now, because I need songs for a show, I'm starting to learn some other songs just to have enough to be prepared to do a long show.
Mhm.
I'm coming across these songs that are first time you do it, like holy crap, like the rhythm is so different from the vocal, that I have to, you guys got that muscle memory, but it's fun because it'll just click. And it's like 2 days ago I couldn't even come close to doing it, and now I could almost do it
Mhm.
in front of people.
Yeah.
And so I'm just having to work hard and be honest about it, and fix the things that need to be fixed, and like just adjusting. But
Constant growth,
yeah, I'm digging
preserving
the
the right to stink,
yes.
but moving through it.
There's a good chance I could stink at something tonight.
Yeah, don't let that stop you, and don't be satisfied. What you need to get bracelets and say, what would Big Jack Johnson say?
What's funny, I got a picture on the wall of my friend Wolfman Belfour, and my friend did a really cool. I'm gonna get it for you. It's a really cool charcoal, but this is his face to a T. Whenever I get in a situation, I just go and stare at it,
Mhm.
and that tells you like when you're full of it, and when you're right looking at those eyes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and it's the same thing we're talking about. Like I'm not competing against any other singer. Like I have something, I have to trust that I have something, and I have to work at it, and I had to honor it. I have to be super like if I'm playing. I've had many gigs where I'm drinking during the show. I'm playing like in Mississippi where I'm backing someone up. I might be creative. I might play a bunch of solos and that kind of thing, but I don't have to talk a lot. And I vowed for my thing is that I'm not gonna drink. Like that night you saw me,
Mhm.
I wasn't drinking at all. I want to be sharp, and I heard the show, and when I went to talk, I was pretty concise and
Yeah.
pretty clear.
Yeah.
And I like that, because I heard other times,
Damn.
yeah, where you think you're hilarious because you're drinking,
Right.
and then you listen to it, you're like, oh, don't do that. So that's another thing. Like I'm taking it very serious, and
Mhm.
I know it's not easy, but I'm having fun. I'm learning new things about my voice that I didn't know I had. Like I got offered to do this it's a kind of virtual thing with a guitar player a drummer from Argentina and a guitar player from Uruguay.
Right.
They asked me to do this thing with them, but they want me to be the singer of the song, and it's a Junior Kimbrough song. No, it's R.L. Burnside song, and it's like when I heard it, I'm like, oh, how am I going to sing this? And I came in, and I found the way to manipulate my throat and face to make it feel good.
Mhm.
And it took me literally like 1 hour to find that voice.
Mhm.
Now I have another song I can do that I dig playing, and I think I bring this too, but it just worked.
Top 4 people we should listen to from Hill Country or Mississippi Blues.
R.L. Burnside,
Yep.
Junior Kimbrough,
Mhm.
um, Jessie Mae Hempfield,
Okay.
and there's a form of music there called fife and drum.
Okay.
Otha Turner would be a good one.
Who? Oh yeah.
Yeah, fife player.
Otha.
Yeah, I think that's his name, Otha, right?
Yeah.
Otha Turner. Pretty confident.
Yeah.
And actually, did you happen to see that's Otha like Otha?
Yeah.
But his granddaughter was in Neighbor Neighbor, that video that I did at the beginning of this pandemic thing.
Okay.
Sade is her name.
Okay.
She plays fife. She's still keeping it alive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a wild area, man. Like because I'm a huge fan of Hill Country blues. It can be one chord, but the groove is so strong.
Yeah.
That it's trance-like.
Yeah.
And when you get into it, it's there's nothing like it, But it's fun, like when you heard that music and you're like, the Hill Country, then you actually get a chance to play in the Hill Country, and there's chickens running around, and there's some kind of meat thing on the grill. You have no idea what it is. You're plugged into a trailer, that's crooked like this, you know. It's-
Yeah.
and but the people are so real, and the
Uh,
music's so real. You
it
know,
makes you love people again.
and Mississippi will make you love people.
That's wonderful, because there's a lot in this world that sometimes you question.
Yeah,
You just got to get
I-
out into the real world, and real
Yeah.
people aren't necessarily like all that.
you can go into any convenience store in Mississippi, and I guarantee you the person on the counter is going to engage you and say hello and be nice. You can drive past people like that. It's like the middle of the day, like Wednesday, they're outside. Maybe they're drinking beer outside on the front. You drive by, they're waving,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
it's that way. It's very, same thing. You can, anyone will talk to you and
Mhm.
mean. They're not just doing it; they actually care.
Yeah.
It's a little weird coming home sometimes. Like you go to the grocery store, and everyone does everything they can not to make eye contact. They go out of their way
Yeah.
not to make eye contact, and you just came from a place where everybody wants to say hello.
Hmm.
It's a weird transition sometimes.
Yep. Well, Bobby, we're at the end. We're at the end here. I want to thank you. Yeah, this was wonderful in every
And
way.
I appreciate being invited.
Getting your story, getting your all your music, you continue to inspire. Yeah, tag me, on your stuff. Let
Cool.
me keep me in your loop, and I will share with everybody.
I appreciate it, man. And I'm a big fan of yours, and I dig that how many things you get yourself into, and I mean, and not the least of them, constantly helping young people, find their voice. And
Mhm.
that's just
Thank
one
you.
little thing. It's not one little thing you do; it's one slice of everything else you do.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I appreciate how hard you work, and I appreciate being invited to do this thing.
Yep, no, that was wonderful. So much will be gained from it. So,
Cool.
alrighty, see
All
you.
right, brother.
Yep, see you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, take it easy.